In the heart of the Great Lakes state, there's said to be a creature living that's so terrifying, all those who encounter it are left shaken enough that they question the very fabrics that make up their reality. It goes on to live in their nightmares, and has been witnessed so often over the decades that this animal or beast has a grip on the people of Michigan so tight, everyone from that area seems to have been affected by it in one way or another. And this beast of legend is known to hunt in the forests and stalk rural roads. It's described most simply as a half-dog, half-man that walks upright, towering at over 7 feet tall with long, sharp teeth. Its name has been talked about for centuries, and whispered in circles by those filled with equal parts fear and fascination. And so, is this thing actually a chilling figment of every local's imagination? Or is the Michigan Dogman actually a real thing? In order to understand the Dogman as we know it today, we have to start by finding out where it all began. And by all modern-day accounts, the roots of the Dogman legend date back to the late 1800s, when Michigan had a booming logging industry for the large white pines that covered the landscape as far as the eye could see. As European settlers made their way to this area of the U.S., they took full advantage of Mother Nature's bountiful offerings, and it was in this setting that the first encounter of the beast among those new to Michigan took place. In 1887 in Wexford County, which is located in the northwestern part of the state, the two lumberjacks working the land came back to camp one day, utterly terrified at something they witnessed out there. And these were hardened men, not easily shaken. Working out in the forest, they were used to seeing all kinds of predatory animals like bears, mountain lions, and wolves. But this was totally different. And while hacking away, they claimed to have seen some sort of creature carving its way through the forest. It first caught their attention when they heard it howl, but the sound was more human-like than it was wolf. And they put down their tools and listened to the heavy footsteps of leaves crunching underneath them. It sounded like whatever this was headed in their direction. The steps got louder until finally through the trees they saw it. And the animal was walking on 2 legs, which was unsettling. But worse than that is that this thing had the head of a dog or a wolf, but a torso of a man. With its fangs on full display, they were frozen in fear, just trying not to draw attention to themselves. Got close enough to where they could see its amber-colored eyes, and said that it had to have been at least 7 feet tall, if not larger. They watched silently as it crossed, not paying attention to them, just roaming. But once it was out of sight, they ran as fast as they could back to base camp. And from that, the legend of the Dogman began officially in our culture, and over the next several years, other workers in the remote forests would claim to have witnessed this bipedal creature stalking the land as well. And these tales, originally dismissed as campfire stories, would only increase as time went on, but that makes sense. The late 19th and early 20th centuries were a time of rapid industrialization in Michigan, and so the vast unexplored wilderness there was a breeding ground for stories just like this. I mean, there was no ESPN or True Detective shows to watch, so how else are you going to entertain one another and pass the time? And tales of strange creatures were common among those who worked in the woods, but this one was a bit different. And there were lots of witnesses coming forward, and for those who had seen it, well, it was far from fun and entertaining. On top of that, as it turns out, the Dogman legend didn't even start with a couple of loggers. It went way back to when the only people in the area were Native Americans. Michigan was once home to several tribes, including the Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi. These cultures all have rich oral traditions, and in them are stories filled with talks of various animals, spirits, and the supernatural world. While there isn't a direct documented connection between these tribes and the modern Dogman legend, they do have stories of shapeshifters, which as you may know, are creatures capable of altering their form. The shapeshifters can appear human in order to attract people to them, but once they have a person where they want them, they can shift into another type of beast entirely and eat, kill, or even make them a shapeshifter. Metaphorically, stories of shapeshifters are cautionary tales, smashing home the idea that some people are bad. They will charm you in with lies and deceit, only to take advantage and possibly harm you. But if all these stories were all just made up, then why have so many people seen the Dogman? Additionally, several tribes have beliefs in animal spirits or guardians. A creature like the Dogman could be seen as a distorted or malevolent version of this concept. Or, then again, maybe the Dogman is actually real. As time went on, the logging industry in Michigan slowly began to dwindle, and with it, stories of the Dogman sightings lessened, though it never died completely. As towns popped up, more houses were being built and the population began booming in the state. So, there were bound to be run-ins with this creature from time to time, if it did in fact exist. And wouldn't you know it, there certainly were. In 1937 in Paris, Michigan, a man named Robert Fortney was out walking his land when he was attacked by a pack of 5 wild dogs. Though he was able to fight them off, he said that it wasn't the pack that scared him so much, but the one among them that was walking on just 2 legs. And this wasn't for a brief moment. And this creature watched as the others attacked the man as if it were their commander and Robert was a test. When they couldn't take him down, they all walked off and Fortney was left to wonder what it was he just experienced. A few months after that, a fisherman along the Muskegon River said that a pack of wild dogs began to surround him when he grabbed his shotgun and fired it in the air to scare them off. Every single one of them scattered and darted away, all except for a single dog that stared the man down. It was then that he actually took notice of this animal and realized it wasn't like the others. It then stood up on 2 legs, as if to simply show him that it wasn't frightened in the least. The man didn't know what to do and figured he'd fire if it came at him, but instead this Dogman just turned and walked away to join his pack. And sightings like this would often come in clusters. They'd spring up as if the Dogman was venturing into different territories. And that makes sense when you think about the fact that those loggers all those years back likely pushed it out of its habitat. Now it was forced to roam about, and perhaps each time it was about to settle down, more people came in and drove it out. In the late 1950s, there was a rash of sightings in Allegan County, which is south of where the loggers first made their reports. In the 1960s, the reports came in from Cross Village and Manistee County, again back in the northwest portion of Michigan. And countless eyewitness accounts have kept the Dogman legend alive in the public consciousness. Everything from fleeting glimpses in the woods to terrifying close encounters. If someone sees something that they can't explain, they tend to chalk it up to being a Dogman.
Dogmen have been seen all over Michigan, sticking close to the woods, going from all 4s to walking on 2 legs.
One woman from an encounter in 1977 said, "I'll never forget it. It was dusk and I was driving home when something huge crossed the road. It was upright, taller than a man, with glowing red eyes. I could see its canine features, but it was human-like in posture. It was terrifying." And just like with many other strange, unexplained phenomena, this one has its own unique set of similarities. At UFO sightings, you hear people talking about bright lights, impossible speeds, strangely shaped crafts. With the Mothman, you hear about wings, red eyes, and disasters that follow. With the Dogman, it's the stance, large size, canine features, and often reported amber or red eyes. And really, the list goes on and on from there in terms of the experiences that people had. While these similarities are intriguing, they can also be attributed to some type of mass hysteria or misidentification. The reality is that some people live quiet and rather boring lives. But even subconsciously, it's not far-fetched that in an attempt to get attention, spice things up a bit. Well, they were driving home and something huge with fangs jumped out in front of their car. It's either that, or that these people are seeing things that in simplest terms is not something we are yet able to explain. Did the Native Americans perhaps have it right all along? That there are spirits or entities that we share this world with, and maybe they don't play by the same set of physical rules as we've laid them out. Beyond the realm of just personal testimony lies the pursuit of physical evidence. And over the years, there's been many footprints uncovered in the mud, as well as claw and teeth marks found around campsites, and even on the doors of houses. Well, all that's well and good. Essentially, the Dogman in Michigan is a large-looking wolf-like creature, and so these paw prints look the same, like a large dog or wolf put them there. So it's impossible to say what's what, and that goes for the claw marks and bites as well. In 1987, though, a local radio DJ named Steve Cook created a song that outlined something very interesting about the Dogman, and it freaked a lot of people in Michigan out. The song, titled Legend of the Dogman, went all the way back to that first encounter with the loggers in 1887, and from there chronicled many other famous encounters with the Dogman. And Cook shows that for some reason, this beast comes out to show itself every 10 years, and on the years that end with a 7. 1887, the loggers. 1937, the encounters with the pack of dogs that the fisherman and Robert Fortney had. In 1957, there was the rash of sightings in Allegan County. 1977 was when the woman claimed to have seen it while out driving in her car at dusk. It was the first time that this had been pieced together, and it was Steve's warning, since it was 1987, to be on the lookout for the creature. His final words from the song are, "The 7th year is here, and somewhere in the North Woods darkness, a creature walks upright. And the best advice you may ever get is don't go out at night."
After the song came out, it started to generate so much interest. They would come in waves from people saying that this creature is real, and we know it's real because we have evidence of it.
And from there, calls came flooding in that year, almost like a little taste of hysteria had kicked in and the legend of the Dogman was stronger than ever. But still, it was eyewitness accounts of things just going bump in the night, nothing tangible. That is, until the biggest piece of evidence of all showed up, and it was the Dogman, caught on camera. The Gable film is a terrifying piece of evidence, one that was locked away for years until it was found in somebody's attic. It was taken in the 1970s on an old 16mm camera, so it's grainy, but in the footage are some young teens riding around on snowmobiles. And there's cuts of an old truck and a guy chopping wood. Their dog sniffs around the woods as if it smells something strange. As they go to check it out, well, that's when you see it. The camera captures a brief glimpse of a large, dark figure standing upright on the side of the road. The creature appears to have a canine-like head and body, but walks on 2 legs. In one shot, it appears to head right for the person filming before the camera falls to the ground. And whether they were attacked or just ran away, it's hard to know for sure. There's no sound. But proponents of the Gable film argue that it's undeniable proof of the Dogman's existence. They point to the creature's unusual gait, its size, and its apparent intelligence as evidence that this is not a bear or a wolf. Despite this so-called proof, the Michigan Dogman still remains an enigma, though. The evidence, while intriguing, is far from conclusive, but what do you think? Well, as it turns out, the song that Steve Cook created was based on some stories that have been passed down, but for the most part, he just made it all up. In fact, it was specifically made up as an April Fool's joke that just happened to take off. But the Dogman showing up every 10 years? Well, there's no real truth in that.
The Dogman legend is very popular across Michigan, but some people may not know it all started as a prank.
The Gable film is even less mysterious. Despite people still today claiming it is in fact real, this was nothing but a fun exercise in found footage. Created by filmmaker Micah Grusa, he admitted to staging the footage and making the movie in 2007. And the creature we all see was actually a person in a costume. The entire scene was carefully planned and executed.
I had actually found a suit online, just off the rack. It's called a ghillie suit. As a creature, I was trying to be a werewolf.
So is there a monstrous beast lurking in the woods in Michigan? Probably not. Perhaps the most enduring mystery is the power of the legend itself, a testament to our collective fascination with the unknown and our enduring hope for the extraordinary to actually be real. The Dogman legend taps into our deepest fears, the unknown, the wild, and the loss of control. Our brains are hardwired to seek patterns. In the absence of concrete evidence, we can often fill in the gaps with what we fear most. In this case, that fear is a giant dogman. So there was the story of the Michigan Dogman, and thanks for tuning in today. If you want more content like this, remember to subscribe and also check out our Patreon for even more episodes that we put out each week, plus get access to over 150 other exclusive videos and podcasts. Thanks so much for stopping by. I'll see you guys in the next one.